That's right, friends. All you need to do is instill fear and be willing to hurt people, and you can get whatever you want. The only true power is violence.
Yeah.
So that's a lesson right now being incentivized and promoted by the mainstream media, and that's a very bad one. Welcome back, beautiful and amazing human beings. This is Luke Rudowski of WeAreChange.org, and in this video, we will be talking about all the latest information happening right now with the end of CHOP, the latest spike in cases from an illness that only goes after people because of their political affiliation. Well, that's what the mainstream media and, quote, medical professionals are saying, which is absolute hooey, and because we call it out, we get screwed over by YouTube, shadow banned, heavily censored. Now we're 100% fully demonetized, so we have products like face bandanas, t-shirts. This one's doing really well, which says if you trust the government, you don't know history. Of course, we have our tribute to Bill Gates, Karen as well, the rioters, the protesters, and of course the awful mainstream media that has created a lot of problems for everyone. So yeah, your purchases go towards keeping us still alive, here for you every single day. And because of your purchases, we sincerely thank you very much. Now obviously, things are a little bit perplexing out there, to say the least, especially with people investigating criminals who are arrested while the actual criminals are on the loose. What is up is down, what is black is white. We're definitely moving towards a more bewilderment approach when it comes to consuming media, which again is becoming more heavily weaponized by the day. And that's why it's important to question everything, and I thank you guys for being a part of this journey that involves critical thinking. I know it's not easy for the majority of people, but for you, again, I just, not a pitch, not even asking you guys for donations. I just sincerely just really wanted to say thank you for being a part of this journey, because again, it's not an easy journey, but it is a very important one. Now, just jumping right into it. Of course, today we have the latest headlines of the spike in cases. Lots of fear-mongering, as of course tensions have died down in the center of the mainstream media promoted, government-approved, supported, quote, autonomous zone, that after a number of shootings, murders, and rapes, the radical revolutionaries are telling everyone to vote for the establishment Democratic candidate, the man who introduced many laws that created this problem, Mr. Joe Biden. You know, because nothing says you're a revolutionary than voting for the establishment, corporate, mainstream media approved candidate that has been doing the bidding of special interests and multinational corporations his entire life. We're also finding out that a lot of people who lived in the CHOP area are now suing the city, which of course endorsed, supported, gave resources to CHOP, which also the mainstream media said everyone was very happy with, and obviously not everyone was, but what do you expect with the polarization of media? As of course they cover the very serious topics of nature being racist. Yep, national parks are all the while, they turn a blind eye to the increasing amount of violence, recklessness, like we saw in the United Kingdom just recently, where a police car was smashed and 22 officers were injured for a Black Lives Matter protest, for a country that for a very long time did not shoot anyone that has been unarmed. And we have to ask ourselves, what's really going on here when we have one voice that is clearly racist and bigoted against someone's DNA being approved of and defended. Meanwhile, other voices of criticism of political policies like government assistance are heavily censored and attacked. And this cognitive dissonance is not only extremely hypocritical, but it is dangerous on many levels, since of course it is partly responsible to the massive uptick of alleged sickness cases that have been going up in this country, which of course the corporate establishment, the globalists, the mainstream media all fully supported and told people to go out there, and somehow is not correlated with the massive spike in cases that just happened. Yeah, I'm sorry, but that really doesn't kind of add up or make sense, and it contradicts the official story that they're trying to, of course, push on you right now, because clearly we have some logical fallacies here. As you've seen from watching our news reports, many times the quote experts and studies are highly manipulated by special interests for an outcome that benefits them. And now, according to some medical professionals, some of which, by the way, promoted this massive protest, previously said, yes, people will get sick, but it will be worth it because it supports our political cause, it supports our agenda, it supports our narrative, it divides and conquers people, so we never clearly look at the real problems in our society, but blame each other for our DNA. And now those same hypocritical experts are telling us that these massive protests that didn't social distance are not correlated with the massive spike in cases that we're seeing all throughout this country. Now, I'm not saying that definitely is not the case, but let's look at this quote study whose main claim to this accusation is that because a large group of protesters did not social distance, other people somehow saw that and decided to social distance themselves. I'm not joking here. That's the main finding of this quote scientific study by experts, whose main claim is, again, that people did social distance, even though they clearly did not on the record level. But this is the argument that this study that's being toted around by the mainstream media and promoted by the mainstream media is saying that people somehow decided to social distance to avoid people who weren't social distancing on massive scales. And this, quote, offset the behavior of the demonstrators. That's ridiculous. Clearly, something else is happening here, especially since many democratic governments that support the protests in democratic states, like in New York, where the contact tracers, government spies, are not allowed to ask you if you went to a protest. They're not allowed to ask you questions to find out the data, if there even was a correlation between the protest and the spike in cases. And now the mainstream media is running with this fallacy when just a few weeks ago, they were telling you that when right-wingers were protesting, they spread the virus widely, according to cell phone data. So by their logic, we have a sickness that only affects you because of your political beliefs. And that's nonsense. And that's bullcrap. And that's disingenuous. This is high-level criminality that is sickening to see. And when you read these articles and when you look at the decisions by government that, by the way, with their utter freaking lunacy, are even passing laws where they're making it mandatory for people to wear face masks unless you're of a certain color. Yes, you're exempt from the law, from fines, from government punishment if your DNA is different while you commit the same act. And I'm sorry, as that's happening, as private businesses, as gyms, as malls, as small mom and pop shops are being shut down, they're still promoting protests. They're still allowing mass migration. This is absolutely insane and crazy. And again, the right is not exempt here as well, as Donald Trump is holding rallies indoors in Phoenix, Arizona, where we're getting reports the numbers of sicknesses are, quote, dramatically going up. So if there's hypocrisies on either side, they deserved to be called out, but more and more I'm seeing just people total freaking hypocrites. Politics has hijacked science, and these experts, liars, swindlers should never be believed again. And that's why you have to question everything that you're told, because there usually is an agenda behind it. Now, what's happening now, according to these same experts and scientists, that again, if there was a movement of maybe scientists calling out some of the hypocrisies, calling out some of the lies, maybe there would be some reason to take them seriously, but it hasn't happened. Either people are too afraid of the mob, or they just totally lost their mind, or either they're just pathetic little ninnies. It doesn't matter, but a big reason why many people are not believing this recent spike in cases is because of a lot of this hypocrisy, which I've been calling out from the very beginning. Now, according to the official data, there's 23% uptick of cases that are supposedly, quote, uncontrollably growing. We have new prediction models that show tens of thousands of new infections. New York, Connecticut, and New Jersey have ordered quarantine for individuals traveling from states that are seeing an uptick in cases for 14 days. Texas and Disney have stalled their reopenings as the Houston Area Intensive Care Unit has announced that they just reached maximum capacity. Now, as the mainstream media like the Washington Post, Jeff Bezos Bezos' private newspaper fearmongers more while telling you this is all because of conservative media. We have to understand from the data that we are getting, cases are going up, but deaths from this sickness are declining even with that. There are reports of younger patients recovering, and there is a lot more testing going on. And again, even when it comes to the testing, I still think the scientific community hasn't even figured out how to effectively do that. And these are important bits of information that, of course, a lot of people aren't getting. This is something that is deserved to be understood here, as, of course, a lot of people are affected. Now, internationally, especially in other parts of the world where there isn't an uptick in cases, there's no politicization of science, we're getting other reports like this one from the Times of Israel that details how people who recovered from the sickness suffer major ongoing physical and, quote, even cognitive problems, which includes memory loss, psychological issues, fatigue, pain, and what they say is lungs that, quote, won't heal. In what they are even saying as people who had mild symptoms. They interview a number of individuals that really highlight some extremely worrying conditions, and whether this is a rare case or a common case, with the level of disinformation, people playing politics, special interests trying to profit off of human suffering like they have for a very long time, I'm still saying it's better to be safer than sorry. I'm still sticking to my original analysis of everything that has happened here. If it's not too big of an inconvenience for you, it's worth taking the safety procedures, especially as we see everything play out here with the unknown long-term ramifications. And until we know those, I still think it's best to take precautions, especially if you're around the vulnerable, since this situation is still clearly playing out in front of us, and the people are kept blind from any real information, as the only thing that's promoted and glorified is, of course, mob violence, actual racial hatred towards someone because of their DNA, which, of course, focuses you on something that is not the real cause and root of the problem. That's my take on it. That's what I think. If you think I'm wrong, let me know why in the comment section below. Thank you so much for everyone, especially buying some of our merchandise, some of our hats. The Make Orwell Fiction again are also doing well. It's really up to you to get these videos out there to the general public. We have a lot of subscribers, but we also have a lot of people that are unsubscribed unknowingly from this channel, so make sure to check if you are subscribed. The level of censorship and shadow banning is absolutely insane, and honestly, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you, and this is why. Love you guys. Stay tuned for more here on wearechange.org.